The Discovery captain Elena Reyes squinted at the holographic display as her deep-sea exploration vessel, the Poseidon, continued its descent into the Mariana Trench. At 10,700 meters below sea level, they were pushing the boundaries of human exploration. The reinforced titanium graphene hull groaned under the immense pressure. "Sonar's picking up something unusual, Captain," called out Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura, the expedition's chief scientist. His fingers danced across the control panel as he refined the readings. "It's not matching any known geological formations." Elena moved closer to the display. "How much deeper?" "Another 200 meters. Whatever it is, it's at the very bottom of the trench." The crew of 12 scientists and engineers exchanged nervous glances. This expedition, funded by the United Earth Oceanic Initiative, was meant to study deep-sea ecosystems, not discover anomalies. "Take us down," Elena ordered, her voice calm despite the flutter of excitement in her chest. As the Poseidon descended, the vessel's powerful lights cut through the eternal darkness of the deep. The water pressure outside their hull was over 16,000 pounds per square inch, enough to crush a conventional submarine like an aluminum can. "Visual contact in 3, 2, 1, announced the pilot, Raj Patel. The lights illuminated something that made everyone on the bridge fall silent. It wasn't rock or sediment. The surface below them was perfectly smooth, metallic, with geometric patterns etched into its surface. It stretched beyond the reach of their lights in all directions. "My God," whispered Dr. Nakamura. "It's artificial." Elena stared at the structure, struggling to comprehend what she was seeing. "How old is it?" Dr. Samira Khan, the team's geologist, was already analyzing samples from the surrounding sediment. Based on the layering and mineral composition, at least 100,000 years old. Maybe older. The impossible timeline hung in the air. Human civilization as they knew it was barely 10,000 years old. Whoever or whatever had built this was not human, at least not human as they understood themselves to be. "Sir," called out the communications officer, "I'm detecting energy readings. Whatever this is, it's activating." Elena's heart raced. "What do you mean, activating?" Before anyone could answer, a beam of blue light shot up from the structure and enveloped the Poseidon. Instead of damaging the vessel, the light seemed to scan it, passing through the hull as if it weren't there. "Systems are still operational," reported Raj, checking the controls. "Whatever that was, it didn't harm us." The light disappeared, and for a moment, nothing happened. Then patterns on the metallic surface began to glow with a soft blue luminescence. The structure was awakening from a slumber that had lasted longer than human civilization. "Captain," called Dr. Khan, her voice trembling. "I'm detecting similar energy signatures all over the ocean floor, not just here, in every major ocean basin on Earth." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. "How many?" "Thousands. No. Millions." A console on the bridge suddenly activated, displaying symbols and patterns that none of the crew recognized. The symbols shifted, rearranged, and then transformed into English text: Terran Defense Network, activation, sequence initiated, genetic confirmation required. Elena approached the console cautiously. "What is this?" As if in response to her question, a small compartment opened in the panel below the display. Inside was what appeared to be a handprint scanner. Dr. Nakamura ran a quick analysis. "It's safe, Captain. No radiation or biological hazards detected." With a deep breath, Elena placed her hand on the scanner. A warm sensation spread through her palm as the device read her genetic information. Genetic sequence confirmed. Welcome, descendant. Terran Defense Network awakening protocol activated. The ship's communication system suddenly crackled to life with urgent messages from the surface. Similar structures were activating in oceans worldwide. And something else. Orbital defense platforms were detecting multiple objects approaching Earth at impossible speeds. "Captain," the communications officer reported, "the United Earth Defense Council is ordering all exploration vessels to return to the surface immediately." Global alert level has been raised to Omega. As the Poseidon began its emergency ascent, Elena couldn't tear her eyes away from the massive structure below, now pulsing with energy. She had a feeling humanity had just awakened something that would change their place in the universe forever. 3 days later, Elena found herself in an emergency meeting at the United Earth Defense Council headquarters in Geneva. Representatives from every nation were present, along with the world's leading scientists and military officials. The atmosphere was tense as Admiral Chen, head of the UEDC, addressed the assembly. As you all know, 3 days ago, we discovered that Earth has been sitting on top of what appears to be an ancient defense network. Since its activation, we've identified over 1 million vessels and weapon platforms hidden in our oceans, buried beneath our polar ice caps and concealed within mountain ranges across the planet. Holographic displays showed the locations of the discoveries, covering the globe in a network of blue dots. More critically, continued Admiral Chen, 12 hours ago, we received this transmission. The main screen displayed an alien being, humanoid, but clearly not human. Its skin was pale blue with delicate patterns across its face. When it spoke, its words were translated into multiple Earth languages simultaneously. People of Earth, I am Ambassador Zorax of the Galactic Council. The activation of the Terran Defense Network has alerted us to your evolutionary progress. According to our records, your planet should not have achieved this level of technological advancement for another 500 years. Your premature access to Terran technology presents a significant risk to galactic stability. The alien paused, its large, multi-pupiled eyes blinking slowly. You are sitting on weapons of unimaginable power, created by your ancestors, the original Terrans, who were once the most feared species in the galaxy. For the safety of all civilizations, we demand that you surrender control of these weapons immediately. You have 72 hours to comply, or we will be forced to take preventative action. The transmission ended, leaving the room in stunned silence. Dr. Nakamura, who had been appointed as the scientific lead for studying the alien technology, stood up. We've made significant progress understanding the network. It appears that humans, or at least our genetic ancestors, were once a spacefaring civilization of immense technological capability. Elena listened intently as he continued. According to the data we've recovered approximately 150,000 years ago, our ancestors predicted some catastrophic event, possibly a targeted attack, and created this defense network as a failsafe. They encoded genetic keys into the system, ensuring that only their descendants could activate it. Are you saying we're descendants of an advanced alien race? Asked the representative from Brazil. Not alien, corrected Dr. Nakamura. The genetic markers are human. These were our ancestors, but they possessed technology far beyond our current understanding. Something happened, war, disaster, we don't know yet, that caused a massive regression in our development. We essentially had to start over as a species. Admiral Chen took control of the meeting again. What matters now is what we do about the Galactic Council's ultimatum. Their fleet will arrive in 69 hours. Elena felt the weight of the moment. Humanity had just discovered it wasn't alone in the universe, and that they might be descendants of a once mighty galactic power. Now they faced destruction if they didn't surrender weapons they barely understood. There's something else you should know, said Dr. Khan, now leading the archaeological team studying the ancient structures. The defense network isn't just weapons. Each vessel contains records, histories, scientific knowledge, cultural information. If we surrender this network, we're not just giving up weapons, we're giving up our heritage. The debate raged for hours. Some argued for compliance. Earth had no experience with interstellar conflict and couldn't hope to stand against an established galactic power. Others insisted that surrendering would mean perpetual subjugation. Finally, Elena stood up. Though she was just a deep-sea exploration captain, her role in discovering the network had given her a unique perspective. The Galactic Council fears these weapons because they remember what our ancestors were capable of. But they're approaching this as if we're planning to wage war, when all we want is to understand our past and determine our own future. Perhaps there's a third option. She approached the central holographic display and brought up the data they'd gathered from the Defense Network's AI systems. The network wasn't built just to destroy, it was built to protect. What if we activate it not as a threat, but as a shield? We demonstrate to the Council that we have no aggressive intentions while maintaining our sovereignty. Admiral Chen considered her words. Captain Reyes, you were the first to interface with the system. The network's AI has shown a particular affinity for responding to your commands. Would you be willing to serve as our primary communicator, Elena? Looked around the room at the assembled representatives of humanity. The decision she made now would affect the destiny of her entire species. I will. As the meeting adjourned, Dr. Nakamura caught up with Elena in the hallway. The activation sequence you initiated in the Mariana Trench was just the beginning. To fully control the network, you'll need to connect to the central command hub. Where is it? That's the interesting part, he replied. It's directly beneath us. The UEDC headquarters was built on top of it, though no one knew until now. The original Terrans placed command centers under what would become major population centers, almost as if they predicted where their descendants would rebuild civilization. Elena followed him to a newly discovered access point. A platform waited to take them deep beneath the facility. As they descended, Elena couldn't help but wonder what they would find, and whether humanity was ready for the responsibilities that came with their rediscovered heritage. The platform finally stopped, opening onto a vast chamber filled with technology that seemed both ancient and futuristic. In the center stood a command interface unlike anything Elena had seen before. The network is waiting, said Dr. Nakamura. Whatever you decide will determine humanity's place in the galaxy. Elena approached the interface, placed her hand on the scanner and prepared to make first contact with the Galactic Council, not as a primitive species to be controlled, but as the returning heirs of the Terran legacy. The Reckoning, the command center beneath Geneva hummed with energy as Elena connected to the Terran defense network. The interface responded to her touch, wrapping her consciousness in a web of information so vast she nearly lost herself in it. Histories of ancient wars, star maps of territories long forgotten, and tactical data on 1 million warships flooded her mind. Neural interface stable, reported Dr. Nakamura, monitoring her vital signs. How do you feel, Captain? Elena's eyes were closed, but in her mind she could see everything. Every ship, every weapon platform, every sensor array across the planet and beyond. I can feel the entire network. It's alive almost, waiting. Admiral Chen stood nearby with the hastily assembled Human Defense Coalition, representing every nation on Earth. We have 24 hours until the Galactic Council's deadline. Can you establish communication through the network? Elena nodded, her consciousness reaching out through subspace channels that humanity had never known existed. Sending now. Across the void of space, her message traveled instantaneously to the approaching Galactic Council fleet. On the main screen, Ambassador Zorax appeared again, surprise evident on his alien features. You've accessed the command protocols already? Impressive and concerning. Elena spoke, her voice calm despite the tension. Ambassador, we understand your concerns about the Terran Defense Network. We've learned something of our ancestors and the power they once wielded. But we are not them. We don't seek conquest or warfare. The ambassador's expression remained skeptical. Yet you refuse to surrender the network. We can't surrender what is integral to our heritage and security. Instead, we propose a compromise. We will maintain control of the defensive capabilities of the network, but agree to restrictions on its offensive use. We seek peaceful integration into the galactic community, not dominance over it. Zorax conferred with others off-screen before responding. Your proposal will be considered, but be warned. There are factions within the Council who view the re-emergence of Terran power as an existential threat. They may not wait for diplomatic solutions. The transmission ended, and Elena disengaged from the interface, exhausted but resolute. He's warning us that some might attack regardless of the Council's decision, Admiral Chen nodded grimly. Then we prepare for all possibilities. Over the next 20 hours, humanity worked feverishly to understand and prepare their inherited defenses. Scientists and military personnel worldwide interfaced with local network nodes, learning to operate technology millennia beyond their understanding. The network itself seemed to anticipate their needs, providing guidance through AI systems that had waited eons for the return of their creators' descendants. Elena remained at the central command hub, coordinating the global effort while deepening her connection to the network's central AI, which called itself Guardian. Guardian? She asked during a rare quiet moment. What happened to our ancestors? Why did they disappear? The AI's voice resonated in her mind. The Terran Imperium faced a choice between two paths of evolution: technological transcendence or biological integration with the cosmos. The faction supporting transcendence grew militant, seeking to force their vision on all Terrans. In the ensuing civil war, both sides nearly destroyed each other, and the defense network, created by the integration faction as a final act before they scattered across the stars. Some remained on Earth, genetically altering themselves to survive the aftermath and eventually rebuilding from primitive conditions. You are their descendants. Elena pondered this revelation. And the Transcendence faction? Unknown, presumed extinct or evolved beyond recognition. Before Elena could ask more questions, alarms blared throughout the command center. Multiple hyperspace ruptures detected, called out the sensor officer. Ships emerging, but they're not Council forces. The main display showed dozens of warships appearing near Mars, their design distinct from the Galactic Council vessels still holding position near Jupiter. These new ships had a predatory aspect to their construction, all sharp angles and weapons. Arrays. Incoming transmission, reported the communications officer. The screen showed another alien, this one with gray, armored skin and eyes that glowed with artificial enhancement. Humans of Earth. I am War Commander Krell of the Drakari Imperium. The Council's weakness in negotiating with you is predictable but unacceptable. The Terran threat was nearly our destruction once before. We will not allow its resurgence. Admiral, Chen stepped forward. We have made no threats against your people or any others. We seek peaceful. Peace is irrelevant, interrupted Krell. The mere possession of Terran technology by an unproven species is threat enough. Surrender or be eliminated. You have 1 hour. As the transmission cut off, Elena reconnected to the network. Guardian, identified Drakari Imperium. Information flowed into her consciousness. The Drakari, once a minor power, had risen to prominence during the power vacuum left by the Terran Civil War. They had built an empire on the ruins of former Terran worlds, stripping them of resources and technology. They're not waiting for our answer, reported the sensor officer. Drakari vessels are launching fighters and positioning for orbital bombardment. Admiral Chen turned to Elena. Captain Reyes, the network is responding most effectively to your commands. You understand what this means? Elena nodded gravely. The fate of humanity now rested on her decisions. Through her neural link, she could feel Guardian waiting, ready to unleash the full power of 1,000,000 warships against the approaching threat. Activate defensive shields only, she commanded. Position our orbital platforms to intercept any weapons fired at Earth. No offensive action unless directly attacked. Around the planet, massive energy shields shimmered into existence, covering major population centers. Hidden platforms rose from the oceans, their ancient weapon systems tracking the approaching Drakari fighters. Drakari forces have launched the first wave of kinetic projectiles, reported the tactical officer. Impact in 45 seconds. Elena closed her eyes, fully immersing herself in the network. Intercept. From the ocean depths, sleek interceptor vessels rose into the sky, their hulls shedding water as they accelerated to hypersonic speeds. In space, orbital defense platforms fired precise energy beams, vaporizing the incoming projectiles before they could enter the atmosphere. The Drakari launched a second wave, more massive than the first. Again, the Terran defenses responded, but this time Elena could feel the strain on the network as ancient systems operated at full capacity for the first time in millennia. "We can't keep this up indefinitely," she told Admiral Chen. "The network is powerful, but parts of it are still initializing." On the screen, they watched as Drakari capital ships moved into position for a concentrated assault. "They're targeting our command center," said the tactical officer. "They've identified this location as the network hub." Admiral Chen's expression hardened. "Captain Reyes, I believe it's time to show them that our defensive capabilities include counterattack options." Elena hesitated, the weight of the decision heavy on her shoulders. Unleashing the full might of the Terran fleet would likely result in the destruction of the Drakari forces, but it would also confirm the galaxy's fears about humanity. "Guardian," she communicated through her link, "are there non-lethal options available?" The AI responded immediately, presenting tactical solutions that would disable rather than destroy the enemy fleet. Elena made her decision. "Activate protocol." "Aegis," she commanded. "Target propulsion and weapon systems only. Minimum necessary force." From beneath the oceans, ice caps and mountain ranges of Earth, vessels began to rise. Not the full million, but thousands. Sleek destroyers and cruisers, their hull designs both beautiful and terrible, ascended into the atmosphere and beyond. They moved with precision that defied their size, taking up defensive positions around the planet. The Drakari continued their approach, seemingly undeterred by the show of force. War Commander Krell's voice came through again. "Your ancient toys. Do not frighten us, humans. The Terrans are gone, and you are merely children playing with their abandoned weapons," Elena responded, her voice amplified through the network to reach every Drakari vessel. "This is your final warning. Withdraw your forces, or we will be forced to disable them." The answer came in the form of energy weapons discharged from the Drakari fleet, aimed at Earth's major cities. The defensive shields held, absorbing the massive energy assault. "They've made their choice," said Admiral Chen quietly. Elena gave the command, and the Terran fleet engaged. What followed was unlike any battle in human memory. The ancient vessels moved with impossible grace, their weapons firing with surgical precision. Within minutes, the Drakari fleet hung motionless in space, their engines and weapons disabled, but life support systems intentionally left intact. As suddenly as it had begun, the battle was over. Earth's defenders had neutralized a superior force, without a single casualty on either side. Through the network, Elena opened a channel to the crippled Drakari flagship. "War Commander Krell, your fleet has been neutralized. We could have destroyed you, but that is not our way. Perhaps now you understand the difference between possessing power and how one chooses to use it." Before Krell could respond, new alerts sounded. The Galactic Council fleet was approaching rapidly. Ambassador Zorax appeared on the screen, his expression a mixture of awe and concern. "We witnessed your engagement with the Drakari. Their attack was unsanctioned by the Council, but your response was unexpected." "How so?" asked Admiral Chen. "The historical records of the Terran Imperium speak of ruthless efficiency and total victory. You showed restraint, mercy even. This is not consistent with our understanding of Terran military doctrine." Elena stepped forward. "As I tried to explain before, Ambassador, we are not the Terrans of old. We've inherited their technology but not their hunger for dominance. We defended ourselves with minimal force because that's who we are." Zorax studied her for a long moment. "Perhaps we have been too hasty in our judgment. The Council requests a formal meeting with Earth representatives to discuss your integration into the galactic community, as equals, not subjects." After the transmission ended, a cheer went up throughout the command center. Humanity had faced its first interstellar crisis and emerged not only intact, but with its values reaffirmed. In the days that followed, Elena worked with Guardian to continue unlocking the secrets of humanity's past. The network contained not only weapons but vast libraries of knowledge, scientific advancements, philosophical treatises, artistic works, and historical records spanning thousands of years of the original Terran civilization. 1 month after the Drakari incident, Elena stood before the newly formed Earth Unification Council presenting her findings. The Terran Defense Network was never meant to conquer. It was designed to protect humanity until we were ready to rejoin the galactic community. Our ancestors believed that through our long isolation, we might evolve beyond the conflicts that destroyed their civilization. She gestured to the holographic display showing hundreds of alien worlds. According to Guardian, there are human colonies scattered throughout the galaxy, descendants of those who fled during the ancient Civil War. Some may have advanced far beyond us, others may have regressed even further. But they are our family, and now that we have awakened the network, we can begin to find them. Admiral Chen, now Secretary General of the Earth Unification Council, nodded thoughtfully. So what happens now, Captain Reyes? Elena smiled, looking out at the assembled representatives of a united Earth. Now we take our place in the galaxy, not as conquerors, not as subjects, but as explorers and peacekeepers. The stars are calling us home. As humanity prepared for its new role in the galactic community, the ancient warships returned to their resting places beneath the oceans, mountains, and ice caps, no longer hidden, but standing ready to defend a species that had finally grown wise enough to understand the responsibility that came with such power. In the depths of space, watched by curious alien eyes, Earth glowed blue and green, home to a species that had just taken its first true steps into a larger universe, carrying with them not just the legacy of a forgotten empire, but the promise of something new and perhaps greater, wisdom tempered by humility, and power guided by compassion.